السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أهلا وسهلا ومرحبا بكم إلى درسنا الجديد الدرس الهادي والعشرون. So we now welcome you guys to lesson 21, and as normal inshallah ta'ala I'll read through the dialogue and then I'll highlight the points of this lesson without translating anything, and then going through these points within the exercises inshallah ta'ala, highlighting the points you need to know and what you need to do for the exercises. طيب فنبدأ إن شاء الله من هنا. الطلاب: كيف حالك يا أستاذنا؟ بخير أحمد الله وأشكره. أنا ما أرى هارون ألم يحضر؟ الطلاب: نعم إنه لم يحضر اليوم. وأين أصدقاؤه الثلاثة؟ هم أيضا لم يحضروا. أتعرفون أين ذهبوا؟ أظن أنهم ذهبوا إلى المطار لاستقبال رئيسهم الذي يأتي اليوم إلى المدينة المنورة لزيارة مسجد الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم. أكتبتم الواجبات يا أبنائي؟ نعم كتبنا. أنا لم أكتب. لما لم تكتب يا بني؟ لأنني لم أفهم الدرس. ما الذي لم تفهمه في الدرس؟ لم أفهم الفرق بين الجملة الاسمية والجملة الفعلية. كثير من الطلاب لم يفهموا هذا. سألت أخواتي اللائي يدرسن في المدرسة الثانوية عن هذا ولم يعرفن. سأشرح لكم هذا الدرس مرة أخرى الآن. اسمعوا. الجملة الاسمية هي الجملة التي أولها اسم، نحو السيارة جميلة، حامد مريض، آمنة مجتهدة. فكل جملة من هذه الجمل أولها اسم وهو المبتدأ، والجزء الثاني هو الخبر. المبتدأ والخبر مرفوعان. أفهمتم؟ نعم فهمناه جيدا. أنا لما أفهم. قلت إن المبتدأ والخبر مرفوعان، فما معنى المرفوع؟ المرفوع هو الاسم الذي في آخره ضمة، نحو المدرس، الكتاب، الباب. الآن فهمت؟ الآن فهمت. أما الجملة الفعلية فهي الجملة التي أولها فعل، نحو دخل المدرس، قال المدير، يكتب الطالب. ففي كل جملة من هذه الجمل كلمتان. الكلمة الأولى فعل والكلمة الثانية اسم، وهذا الاسم الذي يأتي بعد الفعل اسمه الفاعل. الفاعل مرفوع. أفهمتم؟ So inshallah on the next page this will carry on. But just to highlight before we go there, where the points are within this lesson. So in this lesson we're learning that which will make the fi'l al-mudari', the present tense verb, end in sukun. We learned what makes it take fatha. Now we're learning that which makes it take sukun, and this is called al-majzoom. The fi'l al-mudari' majzoom is when it takes sukun. So lam is from the things that make the verb take sukun. As you can see, lam yahdur, you can see the sukun after. And again, lam yahdur. But why is there kasra there? Because you have two sukuns in a row. Lam yahduril, because the sukun on the alif and lam, and the sukun on the ra. Two sukuns, we put the kasra as a helping foul. So lam yahduru. For the plural, we delete the nun. Just as we did when we made verbs take fatha. Okay, so that's also from the things that we learn. Also we learn الجملة الاسمية والجملة الفعلية. الجملة الاسمية is a nominal sentence, a sentence that starts with a noun, as explained in this paragraph. Okay, والجملة الفعلية is a sentence that starts with a verb, as explained in this sentence. So these are the two types of sentences that we have in the Arabic language. الجملة الاسمية والجملة الفعلية. But I mentioned, and I've mentioned this before, the Jumlat al-Ismiyya is made out of two nouns. Al-Mubtada'u wal-Khabaru. So the Mubtada is the subject, Al-Khabar is the news about it. And they are marfu'ani. Okay, marfu'ani. Marfu' is, that means they're both marfu'. Now, they ask ما معنى المرفوع فما معنى المرفوع. What's the meaning of something being مرفوع? المرفوع هو الاسم الذي, as the Ustad mentions here, المدرس, المرفوع هو الاسم الذي في آخره ضمة. It's the noun that the last letter of it, at the end of it, is dhamma, or the equivalent. And this will be the first chapter we study in Medina Book 3. Discussing marfu', these terminologies of grammar. Okay, so this is the things that we all discuss in this lesson. We also learn lamma afham. So just as we said, lam makes the fi'l mudari take sukun, so does lamma. Lam is a negation, and it makes the negation in the past tense, in the madi. So for example, where it says here lam yahdur, that means he didn't attend. So it's negating the past, not the future. Okay. As for lamma, this means I haven't yet. And you haven't yet. So lamma afham, I haven't yet understood. I still don't understand, but I will understand. So it's negating the verb not being completed yet. That's why we use lamma, as use of lamma. So that's the thing that we will discuss within this lesson, and go through the exercises for you to see this, inshallah. And you'll find now in some of the lessons, the dialogues between the students and the teacher, they may explain certain grammar rules within these dialogues. And when that ever occurs, I will highlight this for you, inshallah, as was the case here and here, the two types of sentences, the jumlatul ismiya wa jumlatul fi'liya. But here it mentions, as for the jumlatul fi'liya, we do this in a different color. As for the jumlatul fi'liya, then it's made out of two nouns, two words. The first is al-fi'l. We have the fi'l, and then the word that comes after is al-fa'il. Okay, so the verb and the doer. The verb and the doer. That is your most simple verbal sentence. The verb and one who does the verb. So now inshallah we'll continue to the next page and finish off the dialogue, and then start looking at the exercises bi'idhnillah. So continuing from here, نعم فهمنا والحمد لله. That's asking about the جملة الفعلية. يا أستاذ قلت قبل يومين إن الكلمة 3 أقسام. ما هي؟ أنا نسيتها. من يعرف هذا؟ أنا. أقسام الكلمة الاسم والفعل والحرف. هات مثالا لكل واحد منها يا عمر. الاسم نحو كتاب وقلم وطالب ورجل ومدرس. والفعل نحو خرج وسجد ويجلس ويغسل واكتب واقرأ. والحرف نحو في وإلى ومن ونعم ولا ولن ولم. والسين كما في سآكل. أحسنت يا عمر. استريحوا قليلا. نبدأ الدرس الجديد في الحصة القادمة. أرجع المدير من مكة يا أستاذ؟ لما سيرجع بعد يومين إن شاء الله، يعني بعد 5 دقائق. أنبدأ الدرس الجديد؟ مهلا يا أستاذ. لما نكتب ما كتبت على السبورة. So again, that's the end of the dialogue now. But there is some points to highlight. Here it says, يا أستاذ, the second line, إن الكلمة 3 أقسام. The word in the Arabic language is of 3 types. What are they? I forgot them. So the teacher says, من يعرف هذا? Who knows this? And the person Hashim says, أنا أقسام الكلمة. The types of words in the Arabic language are 3. الاسم والفعل والحرف. And then here he gives example of all of them. So الاسم نحو كتاب. الفعل نحن خرج ويجلس وقرأ. So that's the 3 types of verbs. ماضي, مضارع, أمر. So past, present, command. Then al-harf, that means particles. These are like your prepositions, our particles of negation, our particles of answering, na'am and la, for example. where you have your prepositions fi, ila, wa min. Then you have your particles of negation. Lan negates the future. Lam negates the past. But lan makes the verb take fatha. Lam makes the verb take sukun. Then sin for future. Sa'akulu, does he mentions I will eat. Sa'akulu. Okay, so that's the points to also note within this lesson. Okay, so now if we look at this lesson right here, it says ta'ammal ma yali, ponder of what follows. Yadhabu lam yadhab equals ma dhahaba. So the meaning of lam yadhab is the same as ma dhahaba. As I told you before, it means a negation of the past tense. Okay, so what is to be known is lam. Lam plus yaf'al, the fi'l mudari' takes sukoon and the last letter. The last letter takes sukoon. Okay, normally it would be yaf'alu with dhamma. Okay, but in this case, no. When we have lam, it makes the verb take sukoon. Makes the present tense verb take sukoon. Or that which is equivalent of it. Or that which is equivalent of it. For example, if we have a plural, for example, lam, we're going to say they didn't understand. Lam yafhamu. Okay. Lam yafhamu. So what has been deleted from here? We got rid of the noon. The noon has been deleted. There's no more noon. It's not yafhamuna. It's lam yafhamu. Okay. So that's just a point to note, and we'll see it within the lesson anyway, inshallah. So here is basically you read these sentences with the usage of lam, and watch what happens to the verb. Lam adhab, lam nal'ab. Okay, and you just continue and read the rest of these sentences, inshallah. And something that's also beneficial, translate them into English. It will help you, and make sure you understand the vocab of all of these words, inshallah. هنا it says أجب عن الأسئلة الآتية بالنفي مستعملا لم. So answer these following questions in negation with lam, negating with the negative answer, you're negating what you're being asked with lam. Okay, so you're going to start your sentences with lam. And here it says أجب عن الأسئلة الآتية بالنفي مستعملا لما. Now answer the following questions using lamma, in negation by using lamma. So لما أكتب لم أكتب بعد معناهما ما كتبت إلى الآن. So now it mentions لما أكتب is the same as saying لم أكتب بعد, which means ما كتبت إلى الآن, I haven't written yet. So remember I mentioned لما negates that the action has not been completed yet, but it will be completed at some point of time. But this is to negate that it hasn't been done yet. And لما أذهب, I haven't gone yet. I haven't gone yet, but I'm going to go. Okay, but I haven't done it yet, basically. That's what we use lamma for. So again, these questions, you are to answer them using lamma. These ones you are using lam. So ينبه المدرس الطلاب لضرورة استعمال لما بدلا من الكلمة العامية لسه. فيقولون في جواب أكتبتم الجواب لما، وفي جواب أرنا الجرس لما. So colloquial, they say lissa. Lissa is in colloquial, that means not yet. So here it just mentioned the teacher should clarify to the students that we don't say lissa. You'll hear Arabs saying this, but this is not correct. This is colloquial Arabic. It's not correct Arabic. So we say lamma. So if someone says, for example, أرنا الجرس, has the bell rang? Lamma, not yet. So lamma in this context means not yet. أكتبتم الواجب, have you written homework? Lamma, not yet. Okay. And here it says تأمل صيغ المضارع المجزوم علامة الرفع الضمة وعلامة الجزم السكون. So it mentions ponder over the forms of the present tense when it is majzoom, I take sukun. And huwa yadhabu, huwa lam yadhab. So just to read these sentences and ponder over the differences between them. When we introduce lam, it affects the verb that comes after it. And now, when it's plural, so علامة الرفع ثبوت النون وعلامة الجزم حذفها. So in some situations with the verb, the sign of it being marfu', I supposed to take dhamma, is the noon being present. Hum yadhhabuna. But the sign of it being sukoon is deleting the noon. Hum lam yadhhabu. As you can see, we have deleted the noon when we introduce lam. And that's for anti as well. Anti tadhhabina, anti lam tadhhabi. So that's something to ponder over. And then you have for the feminine plural, second person and third person, it doesn't ever change. Hunna yadhhabna. Hunna lam yadhhabna. It doesn't change. This one is fixed. This form of the verb is fixed. So pay attention to that, inshallah. Just ponder over these, reading them. And again, you'll pay attention to them when you're answering these questions, using them, inshallah ta'ala. The next exercise, it says أدخل لم على الأفعال الآتية. So write these verbs, but place lam before them. So write these verbs while after having placed lam before them. So for example, the first one's going to be lam adhhab with sukoon. So you're going to write out all these verbs with lam preceding it, inshallah. And the next question says أكمل الجمل الآتية بوضع أفعال مناسبة في الأماكن الخالية. It mentions complete the sentences by placing a suitable verb in the empty spaces. So that's going to be, again, an exercise where you might need to refer back to the vocab bank or search for words if you don't know the meanings of, or the Arabic version of the English word that will be suitable to fill in these gaps. But you need to complete the sentences with suitable words, inshallah. Then number 8 is ضع خطا واحدا تحت المبتدأ وخطين تحت الخبر واضبط أواخرهما. So here mentions place one line underneath the mubtada, the subject, and 2 lines underneath the khabar, the news about the subject. And also put the correct final vowel sounds. The vowel sounds of the final word in each of these 7 sentences. Then here it says ميز الجملة الاسمية من الجملة الفعلية. Distinguish between the nominal sentence and the verbal sentence based on what I explained on the first page of the dialogue, inshallah. Which of these sentences are جملة الاسمية and which of them are جمل الفعلية? Which of them are nominal, which of them are verbal? Then this exercise عين الاسم والفعل والحرف فيما يلي. Identify the noun, the verb, and the particle in what follows. So you can just like underline them and say, you might say 1 line is ism, 2 lines is for fi'l, and 3 lines is for a harf, and you just underline these sentences accordingly. Each word, what is it? Is it a ism, fi'l, or harf? Is it noun, verb, or particle? Then we learned before alladhi and allati, which are relative pronouns, and we learned the plural, yani alladhina and allati. But here in this dialogue it says allai is also the same as allati. So we have more than one for the feminine plural of allati. You can say allati, or you can say allai. You can also say allawati, allawati. Okay, so الطالبات اللاتي or الطالبات اللائي خرجنا من الفصل الآن من الفلبين. So this is another form of the plural of allati. The last exercise here says تأمل ما يلي, ponder over what follows. Okay, now these are what we call الفعل الأجوف, middle weak verbs. We're going to study this shortly at some point within this book, but it's verbs where the middle letter is weak. So we have قال. Okay, in the present tense it's يقول. Okay, but we have a principle. If we look at fa'ala, when we add the pronoun for who's doing it, like fa'altu, I did it, what's the third thing we have to do? We put a sukoon on the last letter of the verb. Okay, so when we have qala yaqulu, when I'm saying I said as well, then we have to put sukoon on this final letter of the verb. So we're going to have qaltu. Now, This is heavy to say, so we're going to get rid of this. We don't say qaltu either, because that's also heavy, because the verb becomes yaqulu. So we say qultu, qultu, okay? Based on the present tense is what determines what this first letter is going to be when we conjugate it for the past tense, when we have to place a sukoon on the last letter of the verb. So here, anta, Hamidun qala, anta qulta, ana qultu, nahnu qulna. Okay, qama, qumta, qumtu, qumna. Because the verb is qama yaqumu. So zara, yazuru. Again, you're going to fill in the empty spaces now on the same pattern as the verbs that have preceded. Paying attention to placing the sukoon on the last letter of the verb and then deleting the weak letter, but then making sure you put the correct vowel sound on the first letter. But we will study this at some point, inshallah, in the coming lessons, the types of verbs, especially the weak verbs, okay? But here, lesson 23 is a revision lesson, a recap, and it's just for you to go over the things that affect the present tense verb. So الدرس الثاني والعشرون, this 22nd lesson, حالات المضارع الثلاث. So these are the three circumstances, grammatical circumstances of the present tense verb. Either it's marfu', it takes dhamma, or equivalent, which is here, the noon being in place, the noon. As for any feminine plural, it's fixed. It's not marfu', it's mabni. It doesn't change, okay? Then we have mudari' mansub. Mansub means it takes fatha or the equivalent. For the plural is deleting the noon. And majzoom, which means sukoon or its equivalent, again deleting the noon. So you are to read this and just look at how it went from Hamidun yadhabu, lan yadhaba, and this is lan, remember it negates the future, he will not go. Lam yadhab, he didn't go. So past tense negation, but we write it in the present tense form. Lam yadhab takes sukoon. Lan yadhaba takes fatha. This is nothing affecting it, so it takes dhamma as it's supposed to. And for the plural, either you have noon or you don't have noon. That's just something to ponder over. Read the verbs and the different things that occur after lan or after lam. So that's the end of lesson 21 and 22. And inshallah ta'ala, I'll see you guys next lesson. Jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.